A boy boldly asked for $500 to translate a document. What the millionaire saw next changed both their lives forever. Sure. Here's a detailed, simple, and interesting 1,000-word explanation of part 1 of your story. The boy walked through the crowded city square, his eyes wide with curiosity. The square was always busy, filled with people moving quickly in every direction, their voices mixing into a low, constant hum. Street vendors shouted to attract customers. Children ran past laughing. And tourists stopped to take photos, unaware of the small dramas unfolding around them. The boy, carrying a worn notebook under his arm, seemed almost out of place. He was dressed simply, in clothes that had seen better days. But there was a quiet confidence in the way he walked, as if he belonged there even more than some of the well-dressed adults hustling past. He paused for a moment near a fountain, watching people pass by, and opened his notebook. Its pages were filled with neat handwriting, words written in different languages, notes and little translations he had practiced for months, maybe years. He loved languages and had spent countless hours learning them. Even when others his age were playing or watching TV, he knew the power that words could hold, and the doors they could open if he could master them. That day, he had a goal, though he wasn't entirely sure how it would turn out. Across the square, standing near a luxury car and adjusting his tie, was a man who clearly belonged to another world entirely. He was a millionaire, known in the city for his wealth, sharp mind, and slightly intimidating presence. People recognized him immediately. Some avoided looking directly at him, unsure if they might be judged, while others tried to catch his attention in hopes of a business opportunity or even a handshake. He wasn't a bad man, but his reputation as a clever, sharp-tongued businessman preceded him. He had traveled the world, dealt with important people, and made decisions that affected hundreds, even thousands of lives. Today, he was observing the crowd, seemingly amused by the chaos around him. Perhaps thinking how simple and predictable most people were, the boy noticed him instantly. There was something about the way the millionaire looked, sharp eyes scanning the crowd, a slight smirk playing at the corners of his mouth that both intrigued and challenged him. He walked closer, pretending to casually pass by, but in reality, he was gathering courage. He had prepared himself for moments like this, even if he had never actually tried something so bold before. Then it happened. The millionaire, speaking to a local merchant in a foreign language, asked a question about some business arrangement. It was a language not everyone in the city could understand, a complicated mix of words that carried hidden meaning. The boy stepped forward without hesitation. "I'll translate it for $500, he said, his voice clear and confident. For a moment, the millionaire laughed. He thought it was a joke. A young boy, barely a teenager, asking $500 for something that might take him minutes to do? He couldn't help but chuckle at the audacity. The people nearby noticed the interaction, and some of them smiled, thinking it was a humorous little scene. The boy, however, didn't flinch. He knew he was serious. He had spent years learning languages, practicing translations, and understanding nuances most adults overlooked. He was confident in his skills, and he knew his knowledge was worth something, even if it sounded ridiculous to others. The millionaire, still amused, decided to entertain the moment. He handed the boy a small folded paper, a document he had quickly scribbled in a foreign language he thought the boy could never fully understand. It was a test, a challenge, meant more to make the boy fail than succeed. Most adults, even professional translators, would find it difficult. The boy unfolded the paper, carefully scanning every line. His fingers traced the letters, his eyes moving quickly but deliberately. There was a calm determination in him. He wasn't nervous. He was focused. The crowd around them began to notice. Some people paused to watch the interaction, curious about what a young boy might do in front of such a powerful man. Children nearby whispered excitedly, adults muttered among themselves, and even the merchant who had been involved in the conversation looked on, intrigued. The boy didn't rush. He knew that haste could ruin everything. Translation wasn't just about words. It was about meaning, tone, and intention. If he made a mistake, even a small one, the millionaire would see it immediately. Minutes passed, and the boy worked in silence. The millionaire, initially laughing, started to notice the seriousness in the boy's expression. There was no hesitation, no fear, only concentration. The boy seemed to read not just the words, but the intent behind them. He scribbled notes, compared phrases, and carefully thought about the best way to convey each idea. The millionaire leaned closer, his curiosity growing. He had dealt with many clever people, but few had the confidence to step forward in such a bold way. Most would have been intimidated, but this boy had not even flinched. Finally, after what seemed like a long moment, the boy looked up. His face was calm, almost serene. "Here," he said, handing back the folded document, neatly rewritten with translations in clear, precise handwriting. The millionaire took it, expecting to find mistakes, errors, or at least some awkward phrasing. Instead, he found perfection. Every word was accurately translated, every nuance captured, every tone preserved. It wasn't just a translation. It was a masterpiece, especially for someone so young. For the first time, the millionaire stopped laughing. He looked at the boy, really looked at him, and realized this was no ordinary child. The boy had not only understood the language, but it also understood the meaning behind it. Something even adults sometimes failed to grasp. The crowd, sensing the shift, went quiet. There was an almost electric tension in the air. The millionaire, who had been amused moments ago, now felt a mix of surprise, admiration, and respect. The boy, holding his notebook tightly, smiled faintly. He had done what he came to do. He had proven that age didn't determine skill, that confidence and preparation could create opportunities, and that sometimes people underestimated others too quickly. The millionaire, silent and thoughtful, realized that this encounter was not going to be forgotten anytime soon. The city square returned to its usual noise, but for the millionaire, the sounds faded into the background. He kept looking at the boy who had walked away, blending into the crowd as if nothing had happened. The man's mind raced with possibilities. He knew he had met someone exceptional, someone whose talent could not be ignored. That day, a simple statement, "I'll translate it for $500, had completely changed his perception. The boy's audacity had challenged him, and his skill had earned his respect. It was a simple moment in a busy square, but it was the beginning of something remarkable. The millionaire had laughed at the boy at first, but in those few minutes, he had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate someone based on age, appearance, or circumstances. True talent often arrives in the most unexpected packages. Sometimes a small notebook and determination could stand up to a lifetime of wealth and experience. The millionaire, still holding the boy's translation, felt a mix of surprise and curiosity. He had laughed at the boy's bold claim, thinking it was a joke. But now he realized there was something different about this child. The boy hadn't just thrown out a number. He had backed it up with skill, confidence, and a sharp mind. The millionaire's interest shifted from amusement to testing the boy. To see if this was a one-time lucky guess or real talent, he reached into his leather briefcase and pulled out a document carefully folded and sealed. It was a contract from one of his international deals. A legal paper full of complicated terms, unusual phrasing, and references to laws from a country the boy had likely never even visited. The millionaire knew even professional translators struggled with this kind of text. He handed it to the boy and said, almost teasingly, "Translate this for me. Let's see if your $500 claim holds up." The boy took the paper and unfolded it carefully. His eyes scanned the first few lines, and his fingers traced the words as if trying to understand not just their meaning, but the intention behind each sentence. The words weren't easy. Some were archaic, others were technical legal terms. Many adults would have frowned at the challenge, feeling overwhelmed, but the boy remained calm. He had learned early that difficult work was often where the real opportunities lay. He knew he had to focus, that this wasn't just about translating words, it was about understanding meaning, nuance, and context. The millionaire leaned back, folding his arms, and watched the boy work. His amusement had faded, replaced by curiosity. How could someone so young, someone so small and seemingly inexperienced, handle something this complex? He had dealt with countless professionals. He knew the difference between surface-level knowledge and true understanding. The boy seemed to have that deeper understanding, kind that only came with dedication and attention to detail. Minutes passed and the boy worked in silence. He paused occasionally, biting his lip or tilting his head, thinking carefully about how to phrase certain sections. Some parts of the contract involve very subtle differences in meaning. It's the kind of things that could cause serious legal issues if translated incorrectly. The boy's notebook lay open on the ground beside him, filled with reference notes, vocabulary lists, and grammar rules he had memorized over years of study. He flipped through it quickly when needed, combining what he knew with what he could find in his notes. The crowd that had gathered around them watched with growing interest. People whispered to each other, some in disbelief, some in admiration. Children pointed excitedly at the boy, inspired by his confidence and courage. Even the merchant, who had been involved in the earlier conversation, watched silently, impressed by the young boy's determination. The millionaire, who had seen the boy's skill already, now watched in silence, his face serious. The laughter he had felt earlier was completely gone. This was no ordinary child, and he realized that he was about to witness something unusual, something extraordinary. As the boy worked, he wasn't just translating words. He was interpreting intent. He knew that words in one language could carry multiple meanings depending on tone, context, or even cultural background. He had studied these subtleties and understood that a careless translation could change the entire meaning of a sentence. With each line, he paused to think, carefully choosing words that would reflect the exact intent of the original document. It was not an easy task, but he had done similar work in his studies, learning not only languages, but also how to apply them in real-life situations. The millionaire began to lean forward slightly. His interest piqued. He could see that the boy wasn't just repeating memorized phrases. He was actively analyzing, reasoning, and making decisions about the best way to translate each part. Every choice mattered, and the boy seemed to understand this intuitively. He wasn't rushing, but he wasn't wasting time either. He worked methodically, a rhythm forming between reading, thinking, and writing. After some time, the boy finally put down his pen and looked up. He handed the document back to the millionaire with a calm, confident expression. The millionaire took it, still unsure of what to expect. He began reading line by line, expecting at least a few errors or awkward phrasing. What he found instead stunned him. The translation was precise, nuanced, and perfectly accurate. The legal terms were correct, the intentions clearly conveyed, and even the subtle implications of certain phrases were captured correctly. The boy had done more than just translate words. He had conveyed the exact meaning, tone, and purpose of the document. For a long moment, the millionaire sat silently, processing what he had just seen. He had tested the boy with something he thought would be impossible, something that had challenged even adults, and the boy had succeeded without hesitation. The crowd around them sensed the shift in atmosphere, and whispers grew quieter. The seriousness of the moment was clear. This was a child who had exceeded all expectations. The millionaire realized that he had underestimated him. The boy's confidence had been backed up by real skill, and that combination was rare, especially in someone so young. The boy, holding his notebook, looked at the millionaire with a quiet smile. He had known it wouldn't be easy, but he also knew that hard work and careful thinking would lead him to success. He wasn't showing off or trying to impress anyone. He was simply demonstrating what he was capable of. The millionaire, on the other hand, was beginning to understand that he had stumbled upon someone extraordinary. The boy's ability to stay calm under pressure, analyze complex information, and execute flawlessly was something even seasoned professionals sometimes lacked. Finally, the millionaire spoke, his voice calm but filled with a new respect. He asked the boy how he had learned to do this, how he could translate such a difficult document with such precision. The boy explained that it had taken years of study, practice, and a real love for languages. He said he enjoyed the challenge and that he never backed down from something difficult. His words were simple, but they carried weight. The millionaire realized that talent like this was rare, and determination like this even rarer. In that moment, the millionaire's perspective changed. He had laughed at the boy moments ago, thinking him overconfident and naive. Now, he could see that the boy's audacity was matched by skill, and that combination was powerful. He also understood that this encounter could be the start of something bigger, something that might benefit both of them if approached correctly. The boy hadn't just translated a document. He had proven that talent and preparation could overcome age and experience. The city square continued to buzz with activity around them. But for the millionaire, the noise faded. He watched the boy as he folded his notebook carefully and stepped back, his head held high. The boy had faced a challenge that many adults would have avoided, and he had done so with courage, intelligence, and poise. The millionaire knew that he had just witnessed a rare moment, a young person demonstrating a level of skill and confidence that demanded recognition. That day, the boy had not only proven himself as a translator, but also taught an important lesson about judgment and expectation. Talent could appear anywhere, and sometimes the most unlikely person could achieve extraordinary things. The millionaire had laughed at first, but now he was silent, deeply impressed. The boy's work was more than correct. It was exceptional, and for the first time in a long while, the millionaire felt genuinely curious about the future of someone he had almost dismissed. The boy had turned a casual encounter into a remarkable moment of skill and courage. The millionaire, who thought he was the one in control, had realized that he had been tested instead. In those few minutes, the boy had shown that age and appearance mattered little when talent, preparation, and confidence were combined. It was a quiet victory, a demonstration of potential, and the start of a story neither of them would ever forget. The boy had handed the translated document back to the millionaire with quiet confidence. The millionaire, who had expected at least a few mistakes, began reading carefully, line by line. At first, he scanned quickly, half expecting to find some error the boy had made. But as he read further, his eyes widened and his hand froze over the paper. Every word was correct. Every sentence flowed naturally. And the subtle nuances that gave the text meaning were perfectly preserved. He couldn't believe it. The boy had done more than translate. He had captured the tone, intent, and feeling behind each phrase. Something even experienced translators sometimes fail to do. The document wasn't just a simple message or a list of instructions. It was a complex legal contract from an international deal, full of tricky phrases, conditional clauses, and technical language. A single misstep could have changed the meaning entirely, potentially costing the millionaire thousands or even millions of dollars. Yet the boy had not just copied words. He had understood the document deeply, thought carefully about every line, and rewritten it in a way that preserved all of its meaning. The millionaire, who had dealt with countless lawyers, translators, and assistants, knew that what he held in his hands was extraordinary. The boy stood quietly, notebook clutched under his arm, watching the millionaire's reaction. He did not speak or fidget. His calm demeanor added to the sense of skill he already projected. He had spent years learning languages, practicing translations, and understanding the nuances of communication. He had studied not just words but cultures, contexts, and tones. He knew that a single word could change the meaning of a sentence, and he took care to ensure every word was exactly right. The millionaire, meanwhile, leaned back in his chair, silent and thoughtful. His initial amusement and laughter had vanished completely. He realized that he had underestimated the boy. The audacity to ask for $500 had been bold, yes, but it was backed by genuine skill and talent. The boy had not just met the challenge. He had exceeded it in every way. The millionaire could see clearly that this was no ordinary child. This was someone who possessed not only intelligence, but focus, confidence, and a natural ability to handle high-pressure situations with grace around them. The square was still busy, but the crowd had grown quiet. Sensing the seriousness of the moment, people whispered, eyes fixed on the boy, as if waiting to see what would happen next. Some admired his courage, while others were simply amazed that someone so young could accomplish something so difficult. Even the merchant who had been part of the original conversation watched silently. Impressed by the boy's skill and poise, the boy, despite the pressure and the crowd watching, showed no signs of nervousness. He had learned early on that confidence came from preparation and understanding. He knew his work was accurate, and he trusted his own judgment. Each decision he had made while translating had been deliberate, not rushed. He had paused to consider alternative meanings, thought carefully about tone and intent, and even reflected on how cultural differences could affect interpretation. His work reflected not only knowledge, but wisdom beyond his years. The millionaire began to ask questions, testing the boy's understanding further. He picked out particularly tricky sentences, those that contained subtle ambiguities or complex legal concepts. "How did you decide on this word?" he asked, pointing to a phrase that could have had multiple interpretations. The boy calmly explained his reasoning, showing how he had considered context, cultural nuances, and the intended meaning behind each line. His explanations were clear, logical, and precise. Every answer further convinced the millionaire that this boy's abilities were real and remarkable. For the first time, the millionaire felt something rare: respect. He had encountered talented people before, but few had the combination of skill, confidence, and insight that this boy possessed. He realized that he had judged him too quickly, dismissing him as a child with no real experience. In reality, the boy had demonstrated a depth of understanding and a maturity that even many adults lacked. This wasn't luck or chance. It was preparation, intelligence, and focus. The boy smiled faintly, not out of pride, but out of calm satisfaction. He had proven what he had known all along, that talent, hard work, and confidence could open doors that might seem impossible. He had not tried to impress the millionaire. He had simply done what he knew he could do. And yet, in doing so, he had captured the attention and respect of someone powerful and experienced. Someone who understood the value of skill and precision. The millionaire, still reviewing the translation, realized the implications of what had just happened. This boy could handle complex work that would normally require years of study and experience. He had not only translated the words, but also interpreted the intentions behind them. That skill was rare, especially in someone so young. The millionaire thought about how many times he had struggled with translators or assistants who missed subtle points, costing time, money, or reputation. This boy had solved problems that even experts sometimes failed to manage. The crowd around them slowly began to disperse. But the energy in the square had shifted. People left talking quietly about the boy, about his skill and bravery, about the way he had challenged a powerful man and succeeded. For the millionaire, the encounter had created a mix of astonishment and curiosity. He realized that he had just witnessed a moment that could change both their lives. This boy wasn't just talented, he was extraordinary. The boy carefully folded the document and handed it back, his movements deliberate and calm. He had completed the task, and he knew it was perfect. The millionaire, for the first time in a long while, paused to consider his own reactions. He had expected to be amused, to see the boy struggle and perhaps even fail. Instead, he found himself impressed, surprised, and intrigued. He had encountered confidence and skill in unexpected form. It forced him to rethink his assumptions. The boy's ability to stay composed under pressure had made a strong impression. He had faced a challenge many adults would have avoided, and he had done so with intelligence, precision, and quiet confidence. The millionaire realized that he had just met someone who could handle responsibility, make accurate judgments, and execute tasks with remarkable skill. In a world where many people overestimate their abilities or rely on luck, this boy had demonstrated true competence. As the boy walked away, blending into the crowd, the millionaire remained seated. Reflecting on the encounter, he thought about the rare combination of talent, preparation, and courage he had just witnessed. The boy had not only translated a complex document flawlessly, but he had also shown maturity, insight, and self-confidence. That brief encounter, which had begun with laughter, had transformed into a lesson in humility, respect. In recognition of talent, the boy's success in translating the document perfectly was more than just an accomplishment. It was proof of what preparation and confidence could achieve. It showed that skill could overcome age, that audacity backed by knowledge was powerful, and that true talent often arrived in unexpected packages. The millionaire, who had started by laughing at the boy, now saw him as someone extraordinary, someone whose abilities deserved attention, admiration, and perhaps opportunity. In that moment, Both the boy and the millionaire experienced a change. The boy gained confidence in his own abilities, understanding that he could take on challenges far beyond what others expected. The millionaire learned an important lesson about judgment, respect, and the unpredictability of talent. What had started as a casual encounter in a busy square had turned into a remarkable event, one that neither would forget. The boy had proven that skill, preparation, and courage could create opportunities, and the millionaire had learned that sometimes the most impressive people are the ones you least expect. The millionaire looked at the boy, still holding the translated document, and realized he was facing something rare and remarkable. The child had not only completed the task flawlessly, but it also impressed him with patience, confidence, and skill. The boy's calmness and competence made it clear that he was not just talented, but disciplined and intelligent beyond his years. The millionaire had seen many people claim abilities they did not possess, but this boy was different. His audacity in asking for $500 had been bold, yes, but it was backed by genuine skill and understanding. Now the millionaire was no longer laughing. He was thinking seriously about what this boy might be capable of in the future. The millionaire leaned forward slightly, studying the boy carefully. He wanted to understand more about the child's reasoning, his abilities, and his goals. "Why do you ask for $500? He asked quietly, genuinely curious. The boy looked up and smiled faintly. "Because my time and my skill are valuable," he said. His voice was calm and assured, without any arrogance. "I have worked hard to learn these languages, and I know that what I do is worth something. I could translate for less, but I wanted to show that my work has value." The millionaire was silent for a moment. He had not expected such a mature response from someone so young. Most adults, when asked the same question, might have stumbled or tried to be modest. But the boy's answer was clear and confident. It was not about money alone. It was about self-respect, about understanding that skill deserved recognition. The millionaire realized that this child had a rare combination of intelligence, talent, and self-awareness. Then, the millionaire made a decision. He wanted to see how far the boy could go, and he wanted to give him a chance to grow in ways that money alone could not provide. He leaned closer and said, "I want to offer you something more valuable than $500. I want to mentor you, to give you an opportunity to learn and grow in ways that most people your age could only dream of." The boy's eyes widened slightly, but he remained composed. He understood that opportunities like this did not come often, and he also knew that accepting such an offer could change his life. The millionaire explained that he ran international businesses and often faced situations where language, culture, and precise understanding of documents could mean the difference between success and failure. He wanted someone who could think clearly, translate accurately, and interpret meaning beyond just words. He believed that the boy could grow into such a person, someone who could handle responsibilities that few adults could manage. The boy listened carefully, absorbing every word, understanding the seriousness of the opportunity being presented to him. The boy's mind raced with possibilities. He had always dreamed of using his skills to make a difference, to work on projects that mattered, and now he was being given the chance to do so. He knew that this was more than just a job or a task. It was an entry into a world of real responsibility, one that would test him, challenge him, and allow him to grow in ways he had never imagined. He felt a mixture of excitement and determination. He understood that this was a rare chance, and he wanted to make the most of it. The millionaire continued speaking, explaining that the world of business, international law, and global communication was complex and challenging. He had made mistakes himself in the past, and he knew that having someone with the boy's skills, insight, and understanding could prevent future problems. The boy listened carefully, nodding occasionally, and realized that his abilities were not just useful, they were needed. This realization added a sense of purpose to his confidence. It wasn't just about proving himself. It was about making a meaningful contribution. The boy accepted the offer, understanding that it came with responsibilities and expectations. The millionaire, impressed by his maturity, emphasized that this was not a favor, but an investment. He would provide guidance, mentorship, and opportunities. But the boy would need to work hard, stay disciplined, and continue to develop his skills. The boy agreed. his voice steady and confident. He understood the seriousness of the commitment, and he was ready to rise to the challenge. In the days and weeks that followed, the boy began working closely with the millionaire. He was introduced to complex documents, negotiations, and international communications that tested his language skills and understanding. He worked long hours studying contracts, analyzing texts, and learning to interpret not just words, but intentions and cultural nuances. Each day he gained more experience, more confidence, and more understanding of the global business world. The millionaire observed him closely, providing guidance, corrections, and encouragement, helping the boy refine his abilities and apply them effectively. The boy's growth was remarkable. He adapted quickly to new challenges, learning to handle complex situations that would overwhelm many adults. He demonstrated not only skill in translation, but also insight into negotiation, problem-solving, and strategic thinking. He asked questions when necessary, observed carefully, and made decisions with thoughtfulness and precision. His confidence never wavered, but it was now matched by experience, guidance, and an ever-growing understanding of the real world. Through this mentorship, the millionaire also learned from the boy. The child's fresh perspective, creativity, and unconventional thinking often provided solutions that the millionaire had not considered. The boy's ability to see beyond words, to understand context, and to interpret meaning accurately became invaluable. The relationship evolved into one of mutual respect, where the millionaire provided experience and opportunity, and the boy offered insight, skill, and a unique way of thinking that complemented the millionaire's own knowledge. As time passed, the boy's abilities continued to shine. He became not just a translator, but a trusted consultant, someone who could navigate complex international dealings with intelligence, discretion, and skill. The millionaire frequently remarked that he had never met anyone like him, and he often recounted the story of the first encounter of the boy's audacity, his calm, confidence, and the flawless translation that had earned respect and opportunity. The $500 request had been more than a price. It had been a statement of value, skill, and self-belief. The boy, now gaining experience and recognition, never lost the humility and determination that had defined him from the start. He continued to study languages, culture, and international communication, always seeking to improve, always striving for excellence. The millionaire watched with pride, knowing that he had recognized talent early and had given the boy a chance to grow into something extraordinary. This period of mentorship became a turning point for both of them. The boy's life changed dramatically. He had access to opportunities, knowledge, and experiences that few his age could imagine. He learned the importance of preparation, perseverance, and self-belief. The millionaire also benefited, gaining a partner, consultant, and friend whose abilities complemented his own, whose unique perspective often provided solutions in critical situations. The story of the boy and the millionaire became known in certain circles, not as a tale of wealth or power, but as an example of recognizing talent, valuing skill, and understanding that opportunity and guidance could transform potential into excellence. The boy's audacity in asking for $500 had led to mentorship, growth, and the beginning of a remarkable journey, proving that confidence, skill, and preparation could open doors that might otherwise remain closed. The relationship between the boy and the millionaire illustrated a simple truth: talent must be recognized, nurtured, and challenged to grow. The boy had the ability, the millionaire had the experience, and together they created a partnership that allowed extraordinary potential to flourish. The boy's courage, intelligence, and skill were validated, and the millionaire's willingness to invest in talent proved that opportunities could change lives in profound ways. In the end, the boy's life and future were forever transformed. The $500 request, once laughed at, became the first step in a journey filled with learning, mentorship, responsibility, and extraordinary achievement. The millionaire, who had initially underestimated him, learned the value of recognizing potential and the power of investing in talent. The boy's skill, courage, and determination had opened a door to a world of opportunity, and he stepped through it with confidence, ready to face challenges, learn, and grow into a remarkable young professional. Years had passed since the boy first approached the millionaire. With his bold offer of $500 for a translation, time had transformed him from a curious, determined teenager into a skilled, confident young adult. The mentorship that had begun in the crowded city square had blossomed into a profound partnership. The boy, now more experienced and knowledgeable, had grown into a remarkable linguist and consultant. Trusted by the millionaire to handle critical matters in international business, he had learned to navigate the complexities of contracts, communications, and negotiations. Bringing his sharp mind and precise skills to every task, the boy's life had changed completely. But he had not forgotten the lessons of those early days. He remembered the courage it took to step forward in the square, the confidence required to demand value for his skill, and the patience needed to tackle a challenge that seemed impossible. Those lessons had formed the foundation of his character, shaping him into someone who could think clearly under pressure, analyze information carefully, and act decisively. His determination, discipline, and respect for hard work continued to guide him in every decision he made. The millionaire, for his part, had also been transformed by the relationship. He had encountered many talented people over the years, but few had impressed him as the boy had. He had learned that talent could appear in unexpected places, that confidence backed by skill was a rare and valuable combination. The boy had not only met the challenges presented to him, but had also exceeded expectations, demonstrating insight, intelligence, and maturity beyond his years. The millionaire often reflected on the moment he had laughed at the boy's audacity, and how quickly that laughter had turned into respect. As the boy gained experience, his role evolved from a translator to a trusted advisor. He was now involved in high-stakes negotiations, cultural consultations, and sensitive communications. His ability to understand subtle meanings, interpret intentions, and convey messages accurately became invaluable. The millionaire often relied on him not just for language skills, but also for judgment, insight, and perspective. The boy's natural curiosity and analytical mind allowed him to see possibilities and risks that others overlooked. He was no longer just a helper. He had become an essential part of the millionaire's operations. Despite the pressures of responsibility, the boy never lost his humility. He remembered the courage it took to speak up in the square, the effort required to study languages and practice translations, and the value of preparation. These lessons grounded him, reminding him that skill alone was not enough. It had to be paired with discipline, integrity, and thoughtful action. He approached every new challenge with the same careful attention to detail and calm determination that impressed the millionaire so many years ago. Over time, the boy's reputation grew beyond the circle of the millionaire's business. Colleagues, partners, and clients began to recognize his talent, reliability, and unique insight. People admired not only his ability to translate accurately, but also his capacity to analyze complex situations and provide solutions that others had not considered. He had become known as someone whose work could not be taken for granted. A young professional whose skills were trusted and valued in high-stakes situations. His confidence, born from years of preparation and real-world experience, inspired respect in everyone who worked with him. The millionaire often shared the story of their first encounter with others, using it as an example of recognizing potential and investing in talent. He would recount how he had laughed when the boy demanded $500, only to realize moments later that he had underestimated him. The story became a lesson for those around him. Never judge based on age, appearance, or initial impressions. Talent, when recognized and nurtured, could achieve extraordinary results. The boy's audacity, combined with skill, turned a single encounter into a lifetime of opportunity and achievement. For the boy, the journey was as much about personal growth as professional achievement. He had learned to trust himself, to rely on preparation and hard work, and to face challenges with confidence. Every translation, negotiation, and decision reinforced his abilities and strengthened his character. He understood the importance of responsibility, the weight of decisions that could impact many lives, and the value of integrity. The lessons from his early encounters with the millionaire remained with him, guiding him through difficult situations and inspiring him to strive for excellence. As he grew older, the boy also realized that success was not only about skill and opportunity, but about contribution. He took pride in helping businesses communicate accurately and preventing costly mistakes, and in facilitating understanding across languages and cultures. His work had a tangible impact, and he derived satisfaction from knowing that his abilities made a difference. The mentorship he had received taught him that guidance and opportunity could transform potential into meaningful achievement, and he sought to carry that lesson forward in everything he did. The boy's life had become a testament to the power of confidence, preparation, and talent. The $500 request, that once seemed audacious, had been the spark that ignited a journey of growth, learning, and achievement. The millionaire's willingness to recognize skill and invest in potential had changed the boy's trajectory, allowing him to transform his abilities into expertise and influence. What began as a simple interaction in a crowded square had become the foundation for a remarkable career, full of challenges, accomplishments, and recognition. Looking back, the boy understood the importance of courage in seizing opportunities. He knew that stepping forward, even when others might doubt you, could open doors that would otherwise remain closed. His journey illustrated that skill alone was not enough. It had to be paired with initiative, confidence, and persistence. The millionaire's initial laughter, which had masked curiosity, had been a turning point. It had led to mentorship, opportunity, and a partnership that nurtured talent and rewarded excellence. In the present, the boy, now a young adult, often reflected on how far he had come. From a teenager with a notebook of translations to a trusted consultant and advisor, his life had been shaped by determination, skill, and the willingness to take bold steps. He had learned that recognition and opportunity often come to those who are prepared, confident, and unafraid to show their abilities. The millionaire had provided guidance, mentorship, and trust. But the boy's own effort, dedication, and courage had made success possible. The story of the boy and the millionaire serves as a reminder that extraordinary talent can appear anywhere, often in the most unexpected forms. Age, appearance, and experience are not always accurate measures of ability. With preparation, focus, and self-belief, even a young person can achieve remarkable things. The boy's journey demonstrates that opportunities, when met with courage and skill, can transform potential into achievement, and that mentorship and guidance can amplify talent in ways that change lives. Ultimately, the boy's life had become a blend of achievement, learning, and influence. He had transformed from a bold, curious teenager into a skilled professional whose work mattered, whose judgment was trusted, and whose contributions had impact. The millionaire, who had once laughed at a $500 request, had learned the value of recognizing and nurturing talent. Together, they had created a story of growth, mentorship, and the extraordinary results that can emerge when ability, confidence, and opportunity intersect. The boy's journey, which had begun with a simple act of courage and self-confidence, had culminated in a life of purpose, skill, and recognition. He had proven that talent, when combined with hard work, preparation, and mentorship, could achieve outcomes that seemed impossible at first. The lessons of that day, the translation, and the audacious request remained with him, guiding his future and shaping the remarkable person he had become. The boy had not only realized his potential, but had exceeded it, creating a life that reflected skill, integrity, and achievement in ways that inspired everyone around him.